She is the award-winning national security reporter, security investigative reporter for TV, radio, and print media. She is the senior foreign policy advisor for the Committee for Responsible Foreign Policy, TV correspondent, CW6 News San Diego, as well as One America News Network, and streaming live, Periscope.com, Facebook, and you'll find her on YouTube. And make sure you get that last name, D-V-O-R-A-K. Hey, Kimberly.
How's it going, Jack?
Lady?
How's it going?
Pretty good.
Yep.
I'm having a little trouble with my, whatever that name's called, Facebook today. Yeah, for some reason. I'm going to keep working on it. So
Okay. Well, I've got it up and running. I can look here and tell you off the bat that I see Dan Dunham. I've got a Janet. I have Terry Arm. Oh boy, they're lining up.
They are lining up to confess. And yes, we love following Kimberly Dvorak. You know what? I'll tell you what. There's so much going on. We have got, all right, of course, the border situation. We've also got the Department of Homeland Security Secretary resigning. And then big breaking news today. Let me find this real quick here. And because you are the senior foreign policy advisor, you know, there, and is the fact that the president has declared, let me find it exactly, for the exact wording, Iran's Revolutionary Guard as a foreign terrorist organization. And they're saying that this is the first time that the U.S. has ever done this. So lots of things going on, huh?
Yeah, let's start with Iran, because that's going to, I think, be something that we can kind of discuss a little concisely here. You're right. This has never been done before. This would set precedent. But keep in mind, as we have the UN, and there are a lot of associates and people who are part of the UN that the United States doesn't particularly like. Let's keep in mind here that the Iranian National Guard, this issue could be used against the U.S., say the CIA or the U.S. military or our allies, their military, our terrorist organizations for, dropping drones in countries where we're not at war. So as much as I would like to say that this is a good day for the United States to acknowledge this, I think most people realize that the United States and the Revolutionary Guards run by Soleimani is a bad organization, and they're bad people, but setting precedent is only, I think, going to allow the U.S. to be added to lists of that nature in the future if we allow this to stand.
Well, I'm going to tell you something, Kimberly. It kind of surprised me, probably not you, but over the weekend, lawmakers in Tehran, they made a statement, and they said that they were vowing retaliation if the Trump administration moved ahead with plans to label Iran Revolutionary Guard a terrorist organization. And they say the administration's potential move would mark an escalation in U.S. posture toward Iran. It would be the first time U.S., like I said, has designated the nation's military as a terrorist group. And it is a signal that this administration is prepared to take a much harder line against Iran. But here's the kicker here. Iranian officials say they will respond in kind and will treat U.S. military forces like the Islamic State all around the world, suggesting possible violent confrontations between the two sides. Now, I know they've rattled the saber, so to speak, or maybe they only mention that when they're talking about Russia or something, but I guess Iran would rattle a saber too. Yeah. But I think they've done this in the past. But is this, we have 1 minute before the break, is this more serious in your opinion than ever before, or about same old, same old?
Well, I really fail to understand or believe that the United States really wants to go to war with Iran. They're a very capable army, or a very capable country. The ability for them to launch strikes against our allies are far greater than what's going on in North Korea and what's going on in other parts of the world. And if we've talked on your show multiple times that there's an uprising in Iran, and the younger people, they're trying to reclaim power in their country and get rid of the clerics and what have you. But as we know, there's nothing better that unites a country against an enemy than someone that they perceive as a threat. And it does a great job of uniting. We did the exact same thing after 9/11.
All right. We're going to take a break, and we're going to continue in just a moment. Kimberly Dvorak, Senior Foreign Policy Advisor for the Committee for Responsible Foreign Policy. And you can go to Facebook.com right now. Catch her. It's Kimberly Dvorak, Dvorak, streaming live, Periscope.com. CRN Wilder, Kimberly Dvorak, Senior Foreign Policy Advisor for the Committee for Responsible Foreign Policies, TV correspondent, CW6 News San Diego, One American News Network. I would say she's everywhere. And here we go, the president designating Iran's Revolutionary Guard foreign terrorist organization. Then another story comes out, 15 people killed, shelling by the government and insurgent forces in northwestern Syria, further straining a Russian-Turkish ceasefire. And it says it's possibly the last major foothold of insurgents opposed to President Assad, and forced to retreat there. Here's a quote: after military defeats at the hands of the Syrian government forces backed by Iran and Russia. And Kimberly, I don't want to put you on the spot here, but Kimberly knows everything, so that's almost impossible to do. Talking about Iran and Russia, okay. Elliot Abrams, State Department Special Representative for Venezuela, quote comes out, let's see, this would have been Sunday, that they have more or less pretty well taken U.S. military intervention off the table when it comes to Venezuela. And he says, I don't think Latin America, Canada, the United States are thinking at this moment of any kind of military reaction, because, you know, the Russians are raising hell in Venezuela. So there's a lot going on.
There is. And with regards to Venezuela, I think that's a very good move by the Trump administration. I think this goes back to some of the campaign promises. The president promised to his voters he was not going to start new wars. This would be starting a war. Again, we're talking with a country, you know, not on the same level military-wise as Iran, but you're talking about a country nonetheless where the majority of the population is trying to get the dictator, you go out of office, try to have some sort of elections or re-elections, or bring the young kid in that basically they say actually won the election in Venezuela. I think this is, you know, if Russia wants to get involved in these little battles, you know, more power to them. You know, it certainly doesn't fit the Russia policy, because that country can't afford wars like the United States can, and this would further bankrupt their country. So with Russia interfering there or trying to ally with them, I think it's much more bluster than most people want to talk about, just because the narrative on the mainstream media as of late, or I guess we should say the 2.5 years, is that Russia is a bad player here, a bad actor, and we need to worry and butt them at every little thing that they attempt to put their feet in. If they want northern Syria, they can have northern Syria. The United States has no national security issues in that part of the world, nor do they have it in Venezuela.
I think it was about 3 weeks ago, and you can correct me if necessary, but doesn't Iran, they're the only country other than Russia that can land in Venezuela right now?
Yeah.
And I'm talking about air travel?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the country's virtually shut down. The people can't get food. There's, you know, riots in the streets. I mean, the situation is deteriorated, and the United States and the Trump administration here has leveled some pretty hefty sanctions on that country in an effort to kind of make it turn. But I don't necessarily see the Venezuelans out there day in and day out saying, America, please come save us. We're trying to do what we can with humanitarian aid, medical treatment aid into that country. So we're doing what we should do as a good neighbor to the north of South America and Latin America in general. But for us to get involved into another conflict is just going to ignite pressures around the world. Some say it could spark, you know, a bigger, broader war within the Middle East. It could ignite Africa. So I just think we have to be really careful. And I think, you know, people on TV need to really calm down, take it down a notch, let's see how this plays out, because for this country, nation building and providing democracy for all of these countries over the last 20 years really hasn't worked out too well. Plus, we're $22 trillion in debt, and we simply can't afford the migrants crossing the border, let alone fight other battles for other countries.
Yeah, and then Kimberly, on closer to home, and you can't get any closer, we've still got the border problem. And of course, the big breaking news right now is, that Homeland Security Secretary Kristen Nielsen resigned. If you listen to the mainstream media, there were a lot of reports that, Trump fired him. And then I heard somebody, and it was a quote from CNN because I wasn't watching them, but it was like she couldn't continue locking the kids up in cages, so she had to get out of there. And I'm thinking, it didn't affect anybody that was working for Obama,
no,
because he was doing it, but they never, ever counter-attacked them on situations like that Obama did.
Yeah. And Kirsten was in a no-win situation here. The situation at the border, our southern border, has deteriorated for quite some time now, and we're seeing hundreds of thousands of people coming into this country. We're going to have more than 1 million within the next 6 months. I just don't understand how people think that that's not a crisis. You are seeing a few Democrats come around on this fact, saying that it is a crisis. It's really been making the evening news an awful lot, and Kirsten was just not, it wasn't, I don't know if she was necessarily doing a bad job. She wasn't doing a great job, and the president needed to make changes at that border and signal to his base that, look, we're going to take this much more seriously. In fact, the person that's going to be the acting will be what's his name, from CBP, McAllenan. He's going to be the new DHS acting secretary, and he gave that really, telling speech last week when he was down at the border with President Trump, saying, "Look, we're being overrun. We cannot keep up with this." He was pleading for more money, for more barriers, for more boots on the ground, because they simply couldn't keep up with the influx. And again, we talked about this last week. These people know that the U.S. can no longer accommodate them, and so they're all making a rush for it right now.
Yeah, and you and I, well, probably not you because of me, sometimes I have the worst time in the world getting these correct names, but McAllenan or whatever, McAllenan, Trump. We need more Smith and Joneses, all right, just write that down. But anyway, he nominated him as CBP commissioner on the first day of his presidency. Yeah. But McAllenan was not confirmed by the Senate until March 2018. Yeah. Appointed by CBP deputy commissioner November 2014 by President Barack Obama. And not only, of course, the president's saying it, but so many other people are saying that he has a reputation, a quote, a brilliant mind with tremendous organizational skills. Yeah. So, I think moving forward on this, I think he's the right person for the job right now. The Democrats don't seem very excited about him going through a confirmation process. I mean, all they yapped about today was that the person under Kirsten was supposed to be the new acting, and of course that was somebody who was appointed by Barack Obama, and so that's why the president let both of them go, because he didn't want to have any conflicts of interest. And he's really looking for solutions. The president is, I think he's had it up to here with the politics of this, saying, look, we just can't, carry on this way. And then if you look at it from like the perspective of these children that they're dragging across the deserts and up through dangerous cartel countries and things of that nature, in this country, your child would be taken from you in a heartbeat over that kind of behavior. And, they say that they're fleeing and they need political asylum. Being poor or not having the economic,
value that you really want out of your country, that's not a reason to flee your country and come to the United States for a better life. We have millions of people in line doing it the right way. And as you know, we've got measles outbreaks. You know, they're coming up with all kinds of diseases that are coming up across the border, and we can't even take care of them at the hospitals in a timely fashion. So it's a much bigger crisis. And Kirsten did have it right when she said that this was a Cat 5 storm, that this is something that is directly going to change the country. And we know these people, when they get released, as they're having to be released, they'll never show up for a court date.
Yeah, and the amnesty laws totally, you know, they've got them right. All right, it's the first country you step foot in. That's the one you have to declare amnesty.
Absolutely.
But then the Democrats are going, no, let's give them a whole country to, you know, fudge on.
Yeah.
You know,
it makes no sense. I mean, it's really sad because, you know, this, again, I mean, I can't stipulate this. Congress does not want to deal with this. This is their job. They're abdicating their responsibility in fixing the problems that are at the border. And if they don't want to fix what's going on at the border, then they just need to step back and allow the administration, as well as CBP, Border Patrol, ICE, and all other federal law enforcement agencies to enforce the laws on the books, which mean they are not allowed to come to this country, period. Mexico has said they will take them. They need to go back to Mexico and wait there. And that's what needs to be done. But the mainstream media and the Democrats are really great, putting some pictures out there that, of course, we all have sympathy for these children. But let's just think about American children. What would happen if a parent did something like that here? They would lose their child or family. They'd go to jail. We're not doing that to any of these people here. And like I said, we talked about the savings of what Americans have. They're spending $8,000 a person to get across the border. Most Americans don't have that in a savings account. So it's got to end.
Yeah. And I know last week's report, we really got heavily into that, you know, the money, how it's amazing. The 8,000, that's the magic figure. But, you know, talking about like the Democrats posting all these pictures of the children, I was looking at some today, and the whole concept or subject of the picture was, show me some children. I mean, it was nothing but young adults, mostly all male, and no children there. So then you wonder, okay, are the Republicans, you know, that are posting things, are they finding pictures with no children? Are the Democrats finding pictures that had children, you know, and it's back and forth, but there's a simple solution. And it was supposed to be handled in 1986 when Reagan did his amnesty. This will be the last one. We're going to start enforcing the laws, and we'll no longer have any problem. All right?
Yep.
But then you come in with the rules for radicals, Saul Alinsky. You know, accuse them of what you're doing. And when I hear them talking about, and Trump is locking those kids in cages, you know, Obama did it, and it's not a cage. It's a wire fence that goes all the way to the top of the ceiling. It's amazing how well it may be good politics on whatever side, Kimberly. You know, go ahead and get something that pulls the string of the hearts, even if you're exaggerating.
Well, it is, and the sad thing is that you know, again, I get back to Congress on this. They're allowing this to happen. And, you know, when it comes to the Democrats, whenever the president tries to enforce the laws that are on the books, he throws the ACLU, or the Dems throw the ACLU out there. They bring this and drag this administration into turmoil and into the courtroom. And this further, you know, just creates more of a crisis and instability down there, when in fact we have pretty strict laws. And the biggie, as you just discussed there, Mexico, they need to stay in Mexico. And if they have credible fears that their government, not the cartels, that their government is working against them, then that's a legitimate way to come in this country. But again, we have millions of people in line waiting to do it the right way. And why people think that it's okay for people to come up for a better life is beyond me. We are $22 trillion in debt, and that nothing further should be said about that. We would love to help everybody, but we can't.
Well, we'll see how McAleenan does compared to Kristen Nelson. I remember some congressperson, and you probably know who it was. I don't know if it was Cory Booker or Chuck Schumer, whichever one. They both had that pit bull attitude, and spent about 10 minutes just hammering her. She just sat there and listened and listened.
Yeah.
And they accused her of this and that and this and that, and then finally she's going to respond, and whoever it was, Booker or whoever.
It was Gutierrez out of Illinois.
Gutierrez,
yeah.
Thank you very much. Yes,
yeah.
You're right. Packs his stuff up, grabs the little lady working behind him, and they walk out.
Yeah.
Wouldn't even listen to her response.
They didn't want one. They didn't want one, and that's why I'm not quick to go after Kirsten on this. I mean, she had a lot on her plate. It was a difficult situation, and with the crisis growing in strength instead of kind of rescinding here, the president really was at a pressure point. And I think we look at Stephen Miller, who's the president's advisor. He's from California, raised in California, and I know him. He's actually very well versed on the laws of what this country has on the books for immigration. And last week we heard that, look, there's going to be one of two things that happen. Either Stephen Miller was going to be fired, or Kirsten Nelson and a handful of other people were going to be fired. And it looks like Stephen Miller won. And I think it's also a message to the base saying, look, the president's had up to here. We're going to move forward on this, and we're going to do the best we can. And now with the new acting director of the DHS, they are going to they're going to send more and more of these people back south of the border.
Hang in there. Some final thoughts coming up from Kimberly Dvorak, thekdreport.com, streaming live, okay, at Facebook.com and Periscope.com. We shall return. CRN, Chuck Wilder with Kimberly Dvorak, Dvorak. And, I got a comment about the fact that somebody said, Mexico just started last week or a few weeks ago offering asylum. As I understand, Kimberly, they've been doing it all along, and the caravan's been turning them down.
Yeah, that's true. The Mexican government, when we saw the first caravans coming up through Mexico towards the United States, Mexico, time and time again, has said that they've offered them the asylum at least, and offered them work permits, which is, I think, remarkable. And they're refusing because they want the life in America. So again, this is going to, when it comes to litigating through the asylum courts, they will lose. They will lose their cases on that front, especially when they were offered a safe haven in Mexico. They actually will lose this case. But these cases take 3 to 6 years or so to litigate, and that's a lot of time and money and resources for the situation. I just want to, I'd like to repeat one of the tweets. The president usually makes some tweets that we don't all agree with, but this is actually a very, very good tweet that he sent out over the weekend. It says, whether it's asylum, whether it's anything you want, it's illegal immigration. Can't take you anymore. Our country is full. Our area is full. Our sector is full. We can't take you anymore. I'm so sorry. It can't happen. We have to turn this around. It's the way it is. So the president saying that kind of in an effort to let people know that, look, our country's full. It is. We have a waiting list for people trying to enter this country lawfully. And I think that you're seeing ICE stepping up and raiding businesses. One over the weekend in Texas netted 300 people. These people are going to be automatically deported. It's my understanding that as of this morning, 2/3 of them have been deported already, and these people were using other people's ID. So say you or I, we lose our identity. It takes years and years to fix your credit and all of that. When people steal your identity, nobody wants to talk about that fact. How are they working? That's how they work. And they don't use E-Verify, the employers don't. So let this be a lesson to people moving forward that if you're going to get a job, at least with this administration, they're going to enforce the laws that are on the books. And this is something that is definitely within ICE's purview. And actually, this is where ICE works best. They're not really meant to be border patrol. They're meant for enforcement on the interior of this country. And the president is showing that they're going to look at this problem, come at it from all different angles in an effort to slow these migrants coming up through the border. And at best, you'll take a handful, and the majority of them are going to be sent back to Mexico, or they'll go back to their own countries.
When you mention identity theft, and we only got a minute left, you kind of wonder, they're stealing the Social Security and all the other things. Is it probably a proven fact that no congressional critter ever gets their identity stolen, and that's why we haven't put a law on it yet?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's strict laws. I know in San Diego that's the number one crime that they deal with in San Diego, and they put a lot of people in jail for that crime alone, for stealing identities. All I remember is there was one of the senators, I think it was the Kennedy family, where they were on the no-fly list. So it took them 3-4 months to get off that no-fly list. So
what even happens to the higher echelon, as we say? Adios to Kimberly Dvorak. Hey, thank you very much, and don't forget to check out the KD Report. There's also the AmericanConservative.com, and she's just about everywhere. The KDReport.com, and we'll do it next week, Kimberly.
Alrighty, thanks.